So today, we're going to dive into a pretty unique belief system, one that's all laid out in a document called the Sar El Chronicle. And when I say it's a complete worldview, I mean it. It claims to have the final answer on everything, from the real shape of our world all the way to how our modern age is going to end. So, let's break down exactly what it says.
It all kind of starts with a question you've probably heard before. It's from a song, sure, but it captures this really deep human feeling, right? This hope that maybe, just maybe, some divine power could actually understand what it's like to be us. Well, according to this chronicle, that's not just a song lyric. It's a real question, a prophecy even, that has finally been answered.
So here's how we're going to break this down, following the story just as it's told. We'll start with the answer they give to that big opening question. Then we'll get into what they call the world of lies that we're supposedly living in. After that, we'll look at why it's all headed for a huge collapse, the technologies that are meant to rebuild everything, and finally, this reign of grace that's supposed to come next.
So, what is the answer? Well, the Chronicle introduces this central figure, a man named Sar El, and he's described as the manifested essence of I Am. So he's not just a prophet or some kind of messenger. No, the whole point is that he is the answer to that question about God being one of us.
Now, the idea here is that this isn't a one-time thing. The Chronicle says that Sar El is this eternal consciousness that has shown up at really key moments in human history. First, as the ancient priest-king Melchizedek, then as Jesus Christ, and now in what's called the final incarnation, as the heir to Moses' authority. Each time, the purpose was to lock in a divine covenant with humanity.
Okay, so if Sar El is the answer, what exactly is the problem he's here to solve? The Chronicle argues that all the suffering we see in the world isn't just random bad luck. It claims our entire reality is built on a foundation of huge deceptions, all of them designed for one purpose, to keep us in a state of scarcity, fear, and under control.
And the first, most fundamental lie they point to is what they call the globe lie. The source material claims the Earth isn't a spinning ball flying through space. Instead, it's a flat, stationary realm, all enclosed under a solid dome called the firmament, like you see in the model on the left. They argue that things we can actually observe, like the angles of airplanes in flight, prove this model is right, and that modern science is basically just propaganda. And this idea of a hidden truth, well, it goes way deeper than just the shape of the Earth. The Chronicle talks about a great erasure in our history. It claims a massive mud flood literally buried the evidence of a lost paradise, a forgotten advanced civilization. And that historical cover-up, they say, is directly connected to a modern one, our global debt-based financial system, which they call the main tool used to enslave people today.
So, if the whole world is built on lies, you don't just patch it up, right? According to this, you don't. The Chronicle is very clear that this entire system isn't just flawed, it is destined for a complete and total collapse. And this isn't a maybe, it's presented as a scheduled event.
And you know, they lay out a very specific timeline for all this. It all points back to a prophecy from 2015, which claimed that Donald Trump would be the last real president of the old system. This then sets a hard deadline, late 2026, for that system to totally fall apart. And that event is what kicks off the eternal day in the year 7097 AM, or Anno Mundi, which basically just means in the year of the world.
So how does this all come crashing down? It's not an earthquake or hurricane. Nope, it's a technological event with a pretty intense name: the digital purge. The whole collapse is framed as the system basically eating itself, a kingdom divided against itself, as the source puts it. The trigger is predicted to be a man-made EMP attack, probably from a massive missile. Its purpose? To instantly wipe out the entire digital financial system, which would erase all debt in a flash and make the old power grids and the people who control them totally obsolete. Okay, so you might be wondering, how can they be so sure about all this? Well, they offer what they call mathematical proof. They claim that the probability of Sar El's specific family tree and the timing of his arrival all lining up perfectly at this exact moment in history is 1 in 10 to the 45th power. I mean, that's a number with 45 zeros. They call it the sextillion to 1 miracle, and it's presented as the ultimate validation for this whole timeline.
All right, so we've talked about the problem, the lies, the big collapse, but what comes after? This is where the story pivots to the solution. And it's not just a spiritual awakening, it's a technological revolution, one designed to create a new world of total abundance.
First up, we've got something called the Forever Food Generator. I mean, just look at this schematic. It's described as a portable 3D printer that basically grows its own raw material from biomass, turns it into a filament, and then prints any food you want.
The goal is pretty simple: to make hunger physically impossible.
And then there's this, the automatic refilling cup. It's a device that's supposed to pull moisture right out of the air, purify it, and keep the cup full of clean drinking water forever. Now, according to the Chronicle, think about it. If food and water are suddenly infinite and free for everyone, the whole reason for money, which is to manage scarcity, just disappears. Currency itself becomes obsolete.
So, if scarcity is gone and money is a thing of the past, what takes their place? How does anything get done? That question leads us to the final piece of the puzzle, the new system of governance for this new world.
The system they propose is called direct sovereignty. And the key thing to get here is that this is not some AI-run utopia or a new set of complex laws. The source is very clear that it's a direct personal leadership role, held by Sar El himself.
And the law? The one single law of this entire new era? Unconditional grace. The Chronicle says that all the old world systems of justice, of judgment, of crime and punishment, they're all just gone, replaced completely by this one principle of absolute forgiveness and love. And here, you can see how this leadership is structured. It's depicted with two thrones. One belongs to the sovereign Sar El, and the other to his queen Juliet, who's described as God's heart manifested. And together, they personally administer this new singular law of grace. And that brings us right back to where we started. The source circles back to that song lyric, that question, but now it gives us the final line of the answer. That long, lonely journey of the stranger on the bus is finally over. Divinity, it says, has made its way home, and its home is right here with us. So, there you have it. The Sar El Chronicle lays out this entire sweeping story, from a world built on cosmic lies to a future of technological abundance and radical grace. And it really leaves you with one big question to think about. If our world really is defined by scarcity and rules, what would a world built on the total opposite, on infinite abundance and unconditional grace, actually be like? It's a wild thought. Thanks for joining this explainer.